Ladies and
Hi there,
gentlemen, welcome back
Michael de Vos here.
to Listen To, the show where we
Why is Aventurijn
try to learn and listen to two things
not subsidized?
at once.
The money of subsidies
So, artists and money,
is involuntarily taken
it keeps being a good topic.
from the people that pay taxes.
So, today we are talking about it again.
So that would be one aspect,
My dad is talking about
and nobody has a choice
subsidies, but from
whether to spend money on your school or your art,
a perspective not of artists but of a school.
for that matter. And it has other
And I am talking
disadvantages taking subsidy.
about making money as an artist.
In Aventurijn we refused subsidy because
I hope you enjoy.
it would make us unfree.
Think of an artist,
We have a program that is very
the most archetypical artist you can think of.
different from the subsidized schools in the Netherlands.
And at least for me, I'll keep it a bit personal.
It makes your choices less.
That's like a painter that is poor or something,
If you are a subsidized school in the Netherlands,
or maybe a very famous music artist.
every aspect of your teaching, every aspect
It's one of those. And well,
of your administration is checked and controlled,
after being a bit in the artist industry
and without those checks you don't get the money.
or the art industry, you get to see, you get to know
One of the dangers we wanted to avoid is getting dependent
that the first one, the poor painter,
of subsidy money.
is actually more likely to be you.
A colleague of ours, a school, went bankrupt
And I think a lot of people, when they think about art, they think about
because after 5 years of getting the money,
being poor and not making money.
they didn't meet the specifications
But I think
and had, of course, made their whole system
this is a big mistake,
dependent on the money and no longer exist.
and I will explain why.
So we have much more difficulty coming around with the money that we have,
So a little disclaimer, of course.
but we are much more free than other schools.
You have to disclaim anything.
Viewed on a deeper level, you also see,
I do not make a lot of money myself, of course, so this is not a how-to step-by-step.
for instance, the traditional experimental schools like
Get-rich-quick scheme, or I don't know what.
the Steiner School or Peterson or
And maybe you shouldn't even listen to me. I don't know. You can decide that for yourself.
Montessori, for that matter, since 1948,
So I noticed that my image of an artist,
all are subsidized, and
the image I have in my head, is quite tainted.
while they were free in their first years, really free,
It's mostly formed of musicians,
they now are sort of only
dancers, theater,
an aspect,
and so really these three,
a gradual difference from normal schools,
well, pillars of
because they have to fit into the program.
the useless kind of art, or not the useless kind,
So it's dangerous to have
but the one that's not actually
money from subventions or subsidies.
used, like for example an architect
I think the same goes for art.
or a designer of some sorts.
If you sell something,
And this is what I wanted to get to.
you set the
There's a lot of jobs that are actually,
terms and conditions.
I think they are artists, but you don't think of them as artists.
Literally in your
Like for example architects and designers.
terms and conditions.
A goldsmith, for example, and
And the buyer has to comply
well, all this stuff.
to your terms and conditions.
These are jobs that I don't know, but
In subsidy, that's the other way around.
I think there is some money in them,
The giver of the money
and these are just people that don't have to live off of subsidies and that kind of stuff.
sets the terms and conditions, and you have to comply.
But you don't think of them as artists.
So I would warn everybody,
So yeah, this is weird to say for me as a musician, of course.
it might be comfortable to do art from
But I think it might be that actually
a sort of standard of living, knowing that you get some money,
designers and the architects and all the
but it is also a danger that you are
art that is actually used are the pillars of art
bound.
and not the one that you can
If a subvention is unconditional,
only enjoy, as it were.
it might be good.
I don't know, but it might of course be that you have to
There is a large call worldwide now
give some creativity in your work back
for a basic income, which is unconditional.
for some of these jobs.
I have my serious doubts about that.
But there will be an episode coming up,
The money seems nice.
or a video at least, I don't know if it will be in this format,
The first appearances of the idea
about what kind of jobs have what amount of creativity.
and the first tests seem very positive.
And of course I don't want to say that these jobs
People relax. People start doing what they really want.
make easy money or something.
But I have some idea that on the longer term,
What I wanted to point out is just that
your work might get inconsequential or
don't depend on subsidies,
inessential, and I don't know what that does for yourself.
and that they are also artists.
Let alone the conditions developing.
So I think there's a lot of artist jobs.
What we see now, it is March 2020.
That are not often seen as
This is the year in which the toilet paper got more expensive than the Constitution
like the typical artist.
or the paper it was written on. It might be very well the case that next year
And how cool would it be to give an architect or something
you are no longer allowed to have public transport
just a bunch of money, say, hey, make something
unless you are vaccinated, or
that is very cool. I think that would be, well,
unless you have an ID or an app on your phone showing that you are clean.
just as great as to give a composer.
I think that's a very dangerous development,
So if the reason is not
and I'm afraid we see a very strong
that you want to give money to those who need it, but just
steering on that aspect now around us.
really just for the sake of art,
That's perhaps the most dangerous aspect of subventions.
and it might make sense to also give these jobs.
You see it in China as well. There's a whole social system giving you or taking you
Some money.
points whenever you comply or do not comply with regulations.
Well, this is something I'm thinking about.
And you are also profiled. There are now 28 million people
I really wonder what my dad has said.
in China no longer allowed to travel in public because somehow they are profiled
But this is what we will leave you with.
in the system. A system based on an algorithm, not on a human choice.
I will thank you for watching, ask you to subscribe.
So in this time, in this era, it might be extra dangerous
And I will see you in the next one.
to have subsidies to which terms and conditions you have to comply.
And of course, if you have ideas for these videos, please let me know.
The regulations are getting more and more refined, one would say, but it is also getting more and more complex.
And I'm also searching for ways to go gradually to overlapping text.
And therefore getting more and more difficult even to know in advance whether you comply or not.
So if you have ideas for that, I'm all ear.
And that is a deep danger, I think.
Wow. Check this out. I hope you can see this, and I hope they don't get on my camera too much. These are very cool ants. Damn, that's a big ant thingy. Whee!